Alright guys, so today I'm going to show you how we're going to install hellcat injectors onto this 2013 Chrysler 5.7. So we got the injectors here. Okay. We're also going to do a little bit of cleaning, so I just got a couple of things, just run some carb cleaner through them. First thing you need to do is we need to take out the fuel pump relay. So on these cars, if you have a 2011 and 2014, it's actually in the front fuse box, and we're looking at fuse 28, 25 amp fuel pump, okay, which is this fuse here. Once again, you want to have the car running. This little connector is not going to work for me just because there's not enough space, so I'm just going to take a flathead and try and pry it off. Okay, so there it is. And then once that's out, it's actually going to kill power to the fuel pump. Car's going to stall, which is totally fine. What I'm going to do is I'm going to set it in here so I don't lose it. Then you need to come back into the car and actually turn the ignition off. So we're actually just going to... And the next thing you're going to do is in the trunk, you're going to disconnect the negative terminal here just as a safety precaution. It's held on there by a 10 millimeter, so you just gotta get it loose a little bit and wiggle it out. 14 mil and go lefty loosey. Set both aside. We'll do the same thing for the other side. Now that all four of those fuel rail screws are out, we can just give it a good wiggle here. Doesn't take too much force, but it does take a lot. Just got to break the O-rings that are holding them down. And then before we remove, we just need to remove our clips. Just lift this out with one hand. Just make sure I clear all the connections. And I can walk this over. And I'm actually going to set it down here. And one thing you want to watch out for. See how we're looking at two. This one has the O-ring. This one does not. So the rest of them do. So what that means is we've got an O-ring. You can see it right there, stuck inside there. So we'll get a little pick and we'll pull it out. So I'm just using a little pick with a hook here. And we're literally just gonna wiggle it out. And there it goes. So then you can drop it. There's our O-ring. So our next step here is we have locking tabs on the back side of the fuel rails. You can see it there. All we're going to do is we're just going to take a flathead and remove those and then just pry out the injectors. One thing to note, this is full of fuel, so you can see how some's coming out. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to remove this one here first on the top side of the fuel rail connection, and then the opposite end. That way so I can dump out this fuel rail and get all that gas out of there for the E85 swap. So there's that clip. And just pull on it. There you go, there's the old one. And you can see how I got fuel coming out. Make sure that we have all 8 clips because we're going to be reusing those. One quick reminder before we head in, these clips will be sitting in this groove here, the groove closest to the clip. I don't know if you can see that, but the first groove kind of has stops, but the second groove, see how it doesn't come all the way around? That's the groove that the clips are going to be in. So let's get these new ones in and clipped on. So what you want to do, you can see how it's got the insert on both sides. Okay, so bringing the fuel rail back in with the new Hellcat injectors. So we're just gonna slowly place them in the ports. Make sure our connections are moved out of the way. Then we're gonna give it a nice good push. You'll feel it kind of clip in there. And then we're going to take our 4 screws that we got, we're going to hand thread those back in. Through and replace all your connections. Just make sure you hear that click. I don't know if you can hear it, but once we're done there, we need to replace all hose connections that we disconnected, which is catch can here, evap connection here on the front. Make sure I put it back in that clip. And then lastly, we need to redo this fuel rail connection here. So all we're gonna do is we're just gonna line this blue locking clip up to match the groove in our fuel line. Then we're just gonna, you heard that click, and then just like that, fuel rail is back assembled. We're good to go. So all we need to do is basically just reinsert that there. Just like that, and that's it. Place our cover. Everything's back to normal.